The Prime Minister's going to work from number 10 North today. Andy Burnham's new Manchester headquarters will convene a National Economic Council. It's a cabinet committee that was first launched in 2008 to respond to economic challenges around the UK. The meeting then will bring together senior ministers and regional mayors to, quote, put devolution at the centre of the government's mission to make Britain better. What would best prove that number 10 North isn't a gimmick, a PR stunt? We'll ask our political correspondent and we'll hear from the government in the next couple of minutes.
Also on breakfast this morning, the Edinburgh tourist tax kicks in just days before the festivals begin in August. We'll speak to one MP who supports that tax. And we spent more than £7.5 billion on attending live music events in 2025, probably because tickets for gigs are so expensive nowadays. But smaller venues are disappearing. And so one of our themes and conversations to have this morning is about the future of the music industry.
Keep in touch with us this morning. You can text us 87222. Start your message with the word Times.
So number 10 North opens today. Let's speak to Sally Jameson, Parliamentary Secretary in the Cabinet Office and Under Secretary of State in the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government. Good morning to you, Sally.
Hi there, thanks for having me.
Are you working from number 10 North today, just to check?
I'm not. I'm working in Doncaster today, in my constituency.
Fair enough.
Very much in the north.
Yeah, well, very much in the north. I mean, why is number 10 North not in Doncaster, Sally?
Well, maybe it should be.
You could have a branch there, perhaps. We'll come... I suppose we want to consider what this is all about, really. This new base in Manchester that Andy Burnham will be working from today. He's bringing the National Economic Council back. First an idea from 2008. What is this all about?
I think what it's about is driving power outside of Whitehall, outside of London, and not just into the north, in fact, but into all of the regions and nations across the country to make sure that communities are empowered again and that we can make sure we're driving growth and prosperity in every postcode in the country. So it's a really exciting day, actually, and I think it sends a clear signal that Andy Burnham and this Labour government is really serious about making sure that every part of this country benefits from prosperity.
So it's a signal and it's symbolic, and we get that, and in politics that does count for something. I suppose the question really is, what will demonstrate that this isn't a gimmick? What will demonstrate that this works? What should we look out for?
Well, I think the proof will be in the pudding. And I think when we see that number 10 North is going to be the driver for making sure that towns and cities all over the country, in the north, in the Midlands, the south east, southwest, Scotland, Wales, when they're actually getting the money and able to deliver in their communities, not in 5 or 10 years' time, but this year, next year, in the year after, it'll show that it actually has worked. And I think Andy himself has said that he's going to spend time working outside of working in number 10 North, and I'm sure I will be as well. So I think the proof will be in the pudding, but it's definitely not a gimmick. And I think that this is something that Andy himself feels very passionately about, and actually so do many of us who for a long time have felt that the grip of power has been too tightly held in Whitehall, and this is a really important step forward in seeing a change in that.
How much will it cost to relocate civil servants to number 10 North from London?
Well, I think we've already got nearly 80,000 civil servants outside of London, and the cost for this is going to be done within existing budgets in the Cabinet Office. So it won't be an additional cost, but I think it's really important to make sure that the money we've got is being spent in the right places by the right people. If
the Prime Minister had to convene a Cobra meeting for national security, would members travel to him in Manchester, or would he travel back to London?
Oh, well, you'd probably have to ask the Prime Minister that. That's probably a bit above my pay grade. But I think that, look, of course, there's still going to be huge parts of government that's done in London and done in Whitehall. But this is about making sure that the economic decisions and decisions around growth and around regions is done outside of the Millbank area.
Totally. And I suppose the sort of underlying principle of my question there was to try to get at the logistics of this, of running a government from two locations and working out where the right people need to be at the right time. And I'm not sure if that has been thought through, has it?
No, I think it's been really clear about what Number 10 North is there to do, as I've sort of described, really.
No, we've heard that, but my point is kind of around the other functions of government. So yes, there's a mission statement for Number 10 North, and we hear that is loud and clear, and there is something symbolic about this headquarters existing in Manchester as well. But the question is on his other roles and responsibilities as Prime Minister. If there was a serious national security issue, would he travel back to London, or would national security representatives travel to him? And I'm using that as an example because our listeners will be, I suppose, questioning how government can function when the Prime Minister is splitting off every week.
Well, the Prime Minister has said that he would aim to spend time in Number 10 in the North, but he will also be in London and Downing Street as well. And I'd say that Prime Ministers have travelled all over the country forever. I mean, and if you do have a national security issue or an emergency, you can never guarantee that the Prime Minister at that time is going to be in London, and you have to react accordingly, and you have to travel or get a train or a plane or whatever you need to do to be where you need to be. So those circumstances haven't changed at all. We've had Prime Ministers over a long period of time who have not had constituencies in London, for example, and they've travelled back and forth. So I don't think there's any real change in that. What it's about is taking functions of Whitehall and putting them out into a different place to make sure that power and control is held across the country.
Will it make the Prime Minister's working life easier or more difficult?
Oh dear, I think that's probably a question for him, but I think it's about a working life which suits both him and where he wants to be, but also what he thinks will best serve the country, the taxpayers and people that want to see real change in their area.
Let's go on to some of the other issues of the morning. The front page of the Times this morning, Burnham eager to get drilling in the North Sea. This is, of course, around the Jackdaw and Rosebank fields. And I suppose my question, Sally, this morning is, in principle, if these were to be approved in the coming weeks, how would that drive down the cost of living this winter? Can you join the dots for us from approval to real-life impact for people listening to this right now?
Well, look, I mean, I think there's a lot of speculation being reported on today, and I'm not going to comment on that. That will be discussed and announced in the usual way. Obviously, oil and gas are a really important part of our energy supply and will continue to be for years to come. But that's not something that I can comment on today.
OK. Do you think it would help drive down the cost of living to drill in the North Sea?
Well, we already drill in the North Sea.
To do further drilling in the North Sea.
That's not anything new. I think it's important that we have a mix of energy supply that is homegrown, both in terms of oil and gas, but also in terms of renewables. And I think we've seen a lot of instability across the world in recent months and years. And I think what the most important thing is that we make sure that we can keep our own lights on and our own businesses running. And that means having a mix of energy supply, both oil and gas and renewables, so that we're in control of that.
And does that help, for example, our bills, the cost of our bills, to have that domestic energy supply, and perhaps to increase that domestic energy supply?
I think having domestic energy supply across all renewable and oil and gas will ultimately help, not just in terms of bringing bills down, but making sure that we are in control of the bills and making sure that we're in control of the cost as well. And I think that is a most important thing. We can keep our own lights turned on, our own businesses running based on domestic energy supply, whatever that is.
So you can say with confidence that if, in principle, theoretically, if there was to be more drilling in the North Sea, that people listening to you speaking just now will notice an impact on their energy bills, and that impact will be that the price comes down?
Well, I don't know that for sure. I think there's a lot of speculation on that at the minute, and there's a lot of different factors that contribute to energy costs, whether that be renewable or oil and gas. So I think we need to wait and see what happens. There's a lot of speculation at the minute, but anything will be announced in the usual way that governments do on energy.
Another story reported today is on housing, and Andy Burnham's plan to build exclusively council homes faces an £800 million annual funding shortfall, which could in turn lead to 5,000 fewer homes being built each year. This is based on a report from the Resolution Foundation, and it warns that to reach the 300,000 new homes target using only the social housing, funding must increase by £47 billion compared to current targets. Where are you going to find that money from?
Well, my understanding is Andy has discussed the 39 billion that we have already committed to social homes and how we can use that to better drive up the number of council houses that this country has had. He's going to be, as he said on the steps of Downing Street only last week, he's going to be setting out a 10-year plan for this country later this year, which I'm sure will incorporate housing policy and a council housing policy, and that'll be announced in the usual way. But he has spoken about the 39 billion that we've already committed.
Yeah, so on that, because that is mentioned in this report, there is an allocation of £39 billion to the Social and Affordable Homes Programme. If all of that funding, says this report, were allocated to social rent, just under 250,000 homes could be delivered by 2036, much higher than the social rent numbers we've seen since 2011-2012, though a lot lower than the mid-1990s. And here's the point: that would mean building 50,000 fewer affordable homes overall in the next decade. And to reach 300,000 homes for social rent, we estimate that another £800 million would be needed each year over the programme's 10-year lifespan. So the 39 billion quid doesn't cut it.
Well, I think that it's definitely a start, and I think that's what we've got to focus on to make sure we're delivering quickly, because affordable housing is a massive issue in this country, both in terms of council homes and social homes, but also in terms of people's ability to buy. So it's about having a full package there, and I'm sure that Andy will set that out as part of his 10-year plan later this year to make sure that we've got a housing programme that's fit for the future and fit for the needs of the population as well.
And apologies for clarity, I may have misspoken just a moment ago. The £39 billion need to be increased to £47 billion. There's £8 billion to find, I think is the point and the takeaway from that report. Sally Jameson, thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
That's a pleasure. That's Sally Jameson, who's Parliamentary Secretary in the Cabinet Office and also a Minister in the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government.